I think we're live, and we are live. Okay. So this morning, we have a special guest, CEO of the Instillery, and awarded CEO of the Year at the Waikato Business Awards. Quite a nice guy, very down to earth. Nice house too. I've been to his house, not when he was there. It's another story, but we'll keep that for another day. Right, so we should be here. Let's just see if we can add him in here. It's Mike Jenkins.
Morning, brother. How are you, Shaun?
How are you, sir?
Very good, my friend. It's Friday. Always good on a Friday.
Absolutely. Like every show that I do, I haven't really done any prep for this. So, but I think it's going to be quite easy.
Of us in, so that's fine.
So, everybody, I'll just do a little intro, and Mike can probably tell us a little bit more about his business, and then I'm going to ask him a lot of questions. But Mike and I met a couple of years ago at something called Nurture Change. It's a friend of ours runs it, and basically what happens is 200 people turn up, 200 small to medium-sized business owners turn up, and it is just basically 4 days of keynote speakers talking about health, business. You got all sorts of people that go over there, like Graham Henry, just amazing people. And I can't recommend it enough. It's full on. It's but gee, you get a lot out of it. And so I met Mike over there, and I can remember him talking, getting up. I think you were bare feet by which sounds something that you'd do. And he got up and he spoke, and I was just like, shit, who's this guy? Bloody awesome. So we've had a bit to do with each other since then. So first of all, congratulations on your win for CEO of the Year at the Waikato Business Awards. And I say that sincerely because, as you and I both know, and a lot of other people know, there are some shit-hot CEOs in the Waikato. There and some fantastic businesses, like really great leaders, great businesses, and for you to take that is a real credit to you. So well done, mate. That's brilliant.
Thank you very much, man. It was, obviously a massive honour and a huge surprise. To be perfect, probably would have done slightly less preloading if we knew we were going to get up on stage and have to do a speech. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and we celebrated with the whole team, so it was cool.
Good man. So why don't we start before we talk further about that on. Tell us about your business, what the Instillery, because we've got people all around the world. We've got a couple of people overseas.
Aspirational. I like it. That's all good.
Yeah. Tell us about the business, what you do, when you started, what your vision was. Talk us through it.
Yeah, no problems, Shaun. No problems. And again, thanks for having me, man. I know you've probably got a all-star lineup cast of people just queuing up to get on this podcast, so really appreciate it. So guys, we started the Instillery in 2013. We actually started on Independence Day, and that was really basically a signal of intent to disrupt the New Zealand services market, particularly in the technology space. But it was really with a fundamental understanding that tech is such a foreign thing to most people, and it's like almost like magic. And we really wanted to demystify the magic of it for people, The reality is it's a bunch of smart people doing smart stuff, but it actually underpins every single industry in New Zealand. It doesn't matter if you're in farming and primary industries, in government and retail, it doesn't matter what you do, technology in 2020 underpins every single industry. And so with that realization, we wanted to do it a little bit different. We wanted to talk in plain English. We don't talk in higgery-pokery or acronyms, and we really want to contract and commit our IT services to deliver business outcomes, not just time for money, overpriced consultants borrow your watch and tell you the time type consulting, which was traditional market, right? So for us, we're in the business of IT professional services and managed services for Kiwi businesses and government departments. We work with an awesome range of businesses, from guys that we know publicly have done it really tough in tourism and hospo over COVID, all the way through to some of the biggest government agencies in New Zealand. And we are headquartered here in the Waikato. We've got just over 180 full-time staff and a couple of contractors as well, but with offices ranging from Auckland, Hamilton, Tauranga, Taranaki, Wellington and Christchurch. And for us, we think this is only just the beginning. We're 7 years old this year, and there's a huge market both here in New Zealand and overseas, and we're really clear on who we're for, Shaun, which is always really important when you're making these types of decisions, and that's for business leaders and businesses with backbone, not a wishbone. And I think that makes it really easy for our clients to qualify us in. So yeah, man, it's been an awesome ride so far, and I love what I do every day, and I'm so proud of the Instillery whānau that represent us out there in the field every day. And we're having a real impact, but like I said, it's only just the start, man. So having a lot of fun.
I think that you can actually tell a culture of a company very, very quickly. You get a feel for it as soon as you walk onto their premises. Just by the small things, just by how people act and how people treat you, and just that feeling. And when I walked onto your place the other day, you were in a meeting, so you were busy, and I don't know how many people there were, but first of all I saw this table tennis table, and there was something else that looked a hell of a lot of fun, but then I saw these rows and rows of people just focused on what they're doing and looked very happy and very much they want to do the mahi, they want to do the work, and it was really impressive. I could tell straight away it was a really focused business, and just little signs, just little things on the wall, just little clues that sort of says success. What's your sort of feeling on culture in 2020 from a CEO's point of view? How would you describe your culture?
A culture is something that we've always held equally as high regard as revenue and profit at the end of the day, man. For me, we are in the business of people, albeit we transacted in a different way than most traditional IT organizations. So for me, I spend more time at work, Shaun, than I do at home. and Angie, if you're watching, but it's does an amazing job looking after all our kids and even other people's kids most of the time. And for us, it starts with the people. And I think too many CEOs probably try and tell people what the culture is going to be. And I guess what I wasn't too precious about, Shaun, was the culture and the vibe that we have on the floor. Where we had our very first little office in a shared space, literally above the fire escape from Zero in Parnell 7 years ago, to our offices across New Zealand now, and our biggest being in Auckland with over 100 staff, and down here in the Waikato with 50. It's been a crazy ride, and I think we've always let the people determine it. But we, again, with that ultimate clarity on our vision and our mission and who we're for, it gives us such clarity every single day, like how we're individually in our role, no matter what role you're in. If you're an assistant in the finance team, if you're on the service desk, if you're a customer success manager, if you're in sales, how individually you're going to be contributing to our greater purpose and our higher purpose. And anything that steers you in a different direction or isn't for the right reason, they know really clearly that they have full executive support to do the right thing regardless of who's looking. So again, it's about legacy over profit here, and that's something that we're really proud of.
That's so good, man. So you won this award, CEO of the Year. What do you think makes a great CEO in 2020? Like, where is the best? How can I put this? Where do you place most of your time during a week? Because as CEO, it's very easy. You can get distracted and end up doing a whole lot of different things that maybe you shouldn't be doing. Where do you place your energy? Talk me through a typical week as the CEO of this company.
Yeah, sure. I think first and foremost, man, I've got to give a shout out to my own team, because they allow me to, we've been doing this 7 years, but particularly the last two, we've got a phenomenal executive and senior leadership team at the Instillery. Like, genuinely hands down, pound for pound, and hopefully Joe's watching, one of the greatest fighters on the planet today. But I genuinely think that they enabled me to do what I do, what I love to do. And that's real focus on our people, our whānau here at the Instillery. They allow me to focus on the out and up. We're constantly looking over the horizon and what's next, because we're early investors and we are punters, and we want to lead New Zealand. We want to bring the best and brightest of world's technology down here to Kiwi businesses. And that means we've got to constantly be looking up. Merger and acquisition is something that we've been pretty active in the last 3 or 4 years, Shaun, as you know. And so you've got to constantly be surveying the market for pockets of greatness that we think would add multiple value. So with a lens of 10 times growth, not 10% growth. And so I'm very fortunate in the Instillery today to have a phenomenal managing director and my business partner, Mike Russell, who very much runs and operates the business every single day. Again, singling out people in a very small leadership team. But again, Jeremy Nees has been my right hand at the Instillery for several years, and our Chief Operating Officer, Tanya, Rach, and the whole team. Everyone plays their position, which allows me then to do the stuff I love to do. And I've always believed, Shaun, you've got to build a team that allows you to play to your strengths. So as CEO for me, that largely involves a focus on the people traveling up and down the country each and every week, out there talking to customers, out there talking to our strategic partners, and looking at how collectively we can have the biggest impact on New Zealand and what I believe is this once in a lifetime opportunity, the great Kiwi digital revolution, and how we can actually fuel that thing up and really give it a red hot go on the global stage.
Do you know what is really obvious, Mike, on why you have been so successful is that I'm doing an interview on you today, and we're 11 minutes in, and in that 11 minutes you would have mentioned your team at least 4 times. You're very quick to credit your team in anything that you do. Even when the award was announced and you were on social, you came across very humble and very quick to give credit to your team. So it's I think that's pretty obvious, mate, that's got a lot to do with it as well. So talk me through those early days and where the moment where you went, hang on, I think we've actually really got something here. We might have 180 staff up and down the country or something.
I never thought that in the early days.
Did you have that vision though? Did you think did you ever have the thought though seriously that, hey, we are going to be massive or not?
No. I to be honest, I never really aspired to be a big company. What I aspired to be was actually disrupt an industry that I believe I was getting really frustrated. So I was working in corporates and IT, and it doesn't really matter who they were, but I was getting really frustrated in those corporates not necessarily doing the right thing for their customers. And that meant profiteering. It meant protectionism of high margin contracts. It was all the stuff that I hated, treating their employees not as good as you potentially could. And what really got me fired up was actually there were some phenomenal people, some epic young talent particularly, that were hitting this like weird glass ceiling, and for no other reason other than they weren't old enough or didn't go to the right school, weren't getting the same opportunities. And so that whole inclusivity and diversity for me was the thing that really fueled me to start the Instillery and get that hot young group of talent, that I thought was the next generation of leaders come through and join the Instillery and really have a red hot go. But it was as much to give these guys and girls a shot at actually genuinely realizing their potential sooner, rather than having to wait 20 years just for being a certain age to get a shot,
Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone that has dreams of starting a business? What do they need to focus in on, especially in those first, couple of years?
I think, big Simon Sinek fan and people bang on about the why, but you got to be real clear on your purpose, man.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it and why does it matter? And then for me, it's always been about my why. Why are we doing this every single day? And for me, that starts and ends with whānau and giving them new opportunities, both my own family and also my work family too, as I was saying, which is growing by the day. And so we're really clear around our responsibility. We support 180 full-time people, and that's 180 families, and that's highly likely other families and other communities in and around that. So we take that responsibility really seriously. And so I think for people looking to start a business, it's being having ultimate clarity on the why, but also and why does that matter? I think lots of people come up with good ideas. I have lots of friends that message me all the time, like, "Hey MJ, I've got the next $1 million idea, $1 billion idea, $1 trillion idea." And again, I'm a pretty pragmatic guy, as you know, Shaun. And so I'm like, if you believe in it, do it. Have a crack. Yeah. Because there's lots of $1 billion ideas which are sitting on shelves all across the world. And until you genuinely put your money where your mouth is and have a go, you'll never know. And so if you're that passionate about it, you got to have a crack, man. And I respect someone like yourself as well, Shaun, for doing what you do. I know it's not easy, man, but startup grind, and I always believe hunger and hustle will win the day. Do the mahi, get the treats. So that's what
I love it. You mentioned Simon Sinek. Are there any other heroes or authors that you're into that have inspired you, or business leaders along the way that you've gone, man, that's great. That's where I want to head. I get this. Or have you just rode your own boat?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I have massive respect, and I am quite a big reader, but it's probably more on the technology side rather than the business strategy. Yeah. For me, at least when we're starting out with this, lots of people will tell you that, and it's quite funny. One's quite close to home. So one of my greatest mentors in life and in business is my old man, Ross Jenkins. Yeah, and so
he did.
What's that? Sorry.
Explain to the audience what he does.
Yeah. So he's doing a terrible job of being retired now, but he's retired four or five times in the last 20 years. Before he got into the Xeros of the world, and he was CFO of them for a number of years in the US and UK, and come back home to Wellington. But he actually bought into an IT company in the very early days, like late 80s, here in Hamilton, called Computerland. Now he knew nothing, and he'll be the first to admit he knew nothing about technology or IT, but man, he loved the people. And it was this group of humans that were sitting down here in Hamilton that really cared about their customers, and they really wanted to make a difference. And so I think that's what attracted him and Mum to sort of stop what they were doing, is, traveling around New Zealand. And I think I'd been to 6 primary schools by that stage, he was an auditor for Bay Corp or something like that. And so they actually settled down in Hamilton. And so he turned that business and ended up selling it to Singaporean investment company, and then selling it eventually to Spark as Genii in the 90s. So he went through his whole startup entrepreneurial journey. And so I always had a taste for that. But again, I think, the lessons that I learned from him was actually, people are the heart of our business. And so you got to always do the right thing. He would always be I remember as a kid biking there after school down here in Hamilton, office on Collingwood Street. Dad would be the first ones on the drinks cart. If someone had a problem with, their mortgage payments, like him and Mum would be bloody getting credit cards out and zapping and paying the thing for them. And I guess, what I saw in that for me was a real inspirational guy who, at the time, he didn't have a whole lot to give himself. Where there's a lot of 2-minute noodle dinners at our house for a number of years, but at the same time, he really put his people first, and he loved them dearly. And again, I think that's probably the biggest lesson for me. It's, you got to treat people where you want to be treated, regardless of who's looking. Doesn't matter if the CEO's in the room or not. And I think that same thing and that DNA really expanded to the Instillery, and that's what we want for our people and our customers. So Dad's probably the biggest inspiration. But again, I've been so lucky, Shaun, along the way, way above my station, to travel the world and meet some phenomenal people. Whether it's Satya Nadella from Microsoft CEO, Jeff Bezos from Amazon Web Services, and even just rubbing shoulders with them for the 5 minutes that you get, once you get through the hour of security, is a real lucky experience, and something, those are memories that I'll treasure forever. But for me personally, with the Instillery, we're forging our own path down here. So as much as people think, people tell me all the time, oh, you're a lot like, Datacom was 15 years ago or 20 years ago. You're a lot like this company was in Australia. I very much think that we're forging our own path, that there is no recipe. And I actually wouldn't give a template to anybody else to follow either, because I just think you got to run your own race, man. If you're worried about what other people have done before you, you're probably going to lose sight of what's possible. And again, that's the magic of what we've built here. It's a blank sheet of paper, and we're working out every day. And some of it works, some of it doesn't. And it's just being prepared to give up on the stuff that you don't think is contributing to that higher purpose, and punch on with the rest.
So what's your ultimate vision for the company? Where do you see it? And I know it's a very cliched question, but where would you like to see it in 4 or 5 years? Because look what you've done in, is it 7 years?
7 years, yeah, 7 years. Look, I think what COVID taught me is that you can't model, every scenario. We modeled for thousands of scenarios. When that very first lockdown hit, and every single one was wrong. We invested so many man, woman days, hours, weeks, months into the financial forecasting of how it was going to be. And again, so when we break it down, and at the Instillery, I'm pretty public. I talk pretty publicly about how we do goal setting, and we use a real well-known Google formula called objectives and key results. And so for any new business owner, I would really dig in. There's some great books on OKRs, they call them objective and key results. But really it's about what's the objective you're trying to achieve, and then what are the key results look like. And so again, I would encourage everybody to step that up outside of revenue and profit targets and look at what's your impact going to be. And so we talk about here at the Instillery, we talk about a couple of things. 10x, not 10%. And that means we're always building a strategy and creating products and services and taking them to market in a way that's going to deliver a 10 times impact on our business and or a positive impact on our customers, not 10%, because that's incremental and you can do it in your sleep, no matter what industry you're in. And so when you think like 10 times, not 10%, that really changes the lens that you bring to the challenge or opportunity, right? Mm. We want to be New Zealand's #1 tech whare. And so what does that actually mean? It means that, we're realistic that, people will come and go, kids, guys and girls, people will come through the Instillery and they'll leave or they'll come back. But we want to make sure that if you've been an employee of the Instillery, not only did you have an amazing experience individually, did you learn a shitload along the way, but also probably most importantly that when you leave, everyone goes, wow, that guy or girl worked at the Instillery. They're really good. They've been through the Instillery program. And it's that whole thing about we're trying to level up this whole industry to a point where everyone is digital ready and everyone is ready to go. And so that #1 tech whare is really important to us. And again, I think by elevating it above, via a goal setting program like OKRs, it gives you real clarity on who you're for, and the customers that vibe with it and the staff that vibe with it love it, and those that don't work here. So it's nice and easy.
I love it. What I really found interesting, I thought was such a good point that you raised earlier, was that it's not like you've gone, okay, here's our mission statement and some cheesy bloody thing, and this is our culture. You've let that sort of evolve. But what is also very clear is that, people want to be led. They're going to follow someone like you who's humble, passionate, credits the team, big vision. It's so obvious, and it's so obvious to anybody watching this why you've won the CEO of the Year at the Waikato Business Awards. So congratulations, mate. Thank you for joining me today for a brief chat, and I wish you and your team all the very, very best in the coming 12 months.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Thanks so much. Gee, that guy's class. Seriously. He's good, and he just gets the bloody stuff done. He just gets on with it, and that's, we can spend too much time over analysing things to death, and this guy just does the mahi. He just gets into it. What a great leader. CEO of the Year at the Waikato Business Awards, Mike Jenkins, always crediting the team at the Instillery. Okay, hope you have a great weekend. Beautiful weather here in the Tron. Hope it's nice where you are. And I'm looking, is Argentina playing Australia this weekend? I'm looking forward to that. Man, I really am. I love those Argentinians. I just think they're great. I think they might struggle a bit against the Aussies. They might struggle because, geez, they did take a pounding, didn't they? I mean, look at that defence. I'd love them to get up again, but I don't know. Anyway, Shaun O'Neill, sports broadcaster. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.